By now, you have probably heard somebody say the phrase, I would die for something. I would die for some person or something or some whatever. But how many things would you live for? How many things would you be dedicated and disciplined and change your diet for and change your lifestyle for? And what are the reasons why you would do it? How many people, despite claiming that they would die for X, Y, and Z, how many people would live for those very same things? How many people would choose to live for those very same people? Change their diet, change their lifestyle, change what they eat, what they drink, what they listen to, what they watch, what they allow to be watched and heard inside of their homes. How many people are driven by a why that is so powerful, that is so strong? Today I want to talk about the power of purpose. So often we get caught up in the things we want to accomplish that we often forget the very reason why we began doing it in the first place. There's a great quote by Jim Rohn that says, if the why is powerful, the how becomes easy. Basically what that means is if you know why you're doing what you're doing, actually executing, actually making the things happen becomes so much easier. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. I'm not saying it's going to be a walk in the park. But once you know why you're doing what you're doing, actually executing becomes like second nature. And so today I want to talk about finding your why, identifying your why, and why it's so important to be driven by a purpose, and why it's important to actually choose and decide on your own why in a conscious and deliberate way. Because there are so many people and so many forces who will love nothing more to change and impact what the reason is that gets you up every day. Your purpose, your reason why is literally the driver of everything. Your why is essentially your purpose. It's your reason. It's why you do the things you do, why you wake up early every morning, why you're disciplined, why you choose to continue doing the things you do every single day. Your why is the fuel that lights your fire. So when we talk about purpose, when we talk about your why, it is literally the driver of everything. It is not only the fuel that lights your fire when you're high and burning bright, but it's also the thing that keeps you burning even when things are looking low. Yeah, sometimes the candle might flicker a little bit. Sometimes your light might become a bit dimmer. Even though life may get tricky, even though life may get difficult, once you have the why, moving about and actually getting things done becomes so much easier. I'm not saying a cakewalk. I'm not saying perfect. I'm not saying no problems. I'm saying just efficient, better, more intentional, more purpose-driven, more focused. The why is everything. And so today we want to talk about why it's important, how you find it, things to avoid, and everything else associated with your purpose. If in the year 2025 and beyond, you're serious about reaching your goals, and not only that, just becoming the best person you can, identifying and understanding your why is critical. Your why is what allows you to choose discipline even on those days when you don't feel like it. It's what allows you to choose the right thing even when wrong is so easy. It's what allows you to choose good even when bad is right there for you. Having a why, having a purpose, having a reason that's driving you, and knowing what it is, that is power. That is precision. Having a why, having a purpose, having a reason, being driven by something beyond just material. That is what we want to talk about today, because once you can tap into that, the options are limitless. Your why is what allows you to choose delayed gratification over comfort and safety. When we talk about your purpose, when we talk about your why, we're talking about something that's far bigger than just the superficial, far bigger than just the surface level, far bigger than just material things. Because ideally, when the why is big enough, when the why is grand and special and important enough, it'll also be bigger than your biggest excuses. Because let's be honest, excuses will always be aplenty. And if you don't have the right why, if you're not driven by the right purpose, you'll simply take them. Human nature is to seek comfort. And so oftentimes by making excuses, all we're doing is seeking comfort. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with comfort, how much growth comes from being in a place of comfort? How much improvement comes from being comfortable? Much of growth comes from being uncomfortable. Much of being better, much of improving comes from doing things that are uncomfortable. Lifting weights is not a comfortable thing. Running on a treadmill or hitting the elliptical or doing Pilates or whatever it is you do, oftentimes it's not comfortable. But by doing these things, not only do you increase your discipline, you literally change the wiring in your brain, and you allow yourself to find a deeper and even better comfort, but in the future. If discipline and delayed gratification is the name of the game, that means the comfort you seek will come. It might just come at a future date. It might just come at a later time. And so one of the most important things that you can do for not only yourself, but the people around you, is to not only identify your purpose, but to connect with it. It's one thing to identify, but if you don't agree with it, if you aren't okay with it, it's okay to change it. Maybe at one point in time you were driven by hate or malice or jealousy or something negative, it's okay to change it. Maybe the thing that was driving you was pity. Maybe the thing that was driving you was laziness. Maybe the thing that was driving you wasn't good. It's okay. You get to change it. You have a choice. The beauty of your why, much like the beauty of your goals, is you get to choose and set what your why is. People often live under the mistaken belief that your why is just set in stone. I'm this way because of this. No, you get to choose. Maybe you grew up in poverty. Your reason for moving and being doesn't have to be because you grew up in poverty. Maybe your purpose for being is because you want to build a life of wealth, because you want to put your family into a better situation. Maybe you want to see your mom in a better situation. Maybe you want to have your people living better. Maybe you want your kids to be able to eat the best foods and go to the best schools. Your motivator and your why doesn't have to be negative. It can be whatever you choose to make. When you're able to connect with your purpose, it's almost like it makes the things you need to do second nature. Right? And so not planning and not setting goals and not taking action and not doing the research and not studying and not doing all of these things doesn't even feel right. Once you have the why, once you know why you're here, why you're doing what you're doing, and you know for a fact that you're being called, and you know for a fact that it's right, not doing the things that'll get you closer to your purpose, that'll get you more in line with your purpose, doesn't feel right. But how many people truly know and understand what their why is, what their purpose is? By the way, if money and fame and riches were enough, then the people who got money and fame and riches would be satisfied once they got to a certain point. But if you talk to a rich person and you ask them, what's the difference between 100,000 and a million? Yeah, monetarily it's something. What's the difference between 25 and 26 million? Knowing and understanding your why, identifying and connecting with your purpose is the thing that allows you to decide, will I be a couch potato or will I be a success story? Will I be a statistic or will I be an outlier? Will I be just another? Will I be just average? Or will I go above and beyond because there's something driving me, something fueling me, something pushing me that won't let me quit? It won't let me give up. And if I don't do it, I'm going to feel a certain way. The comfort that you seek lies in the work that's yet to be done. But once you do it, and as you continue to do the work, that's when the peace comes. That's when the comfort comes. And that's when a life of true fulfillment is right at your doorstep. All you got to do is find and identify your purpose. Connect with that purpose. Embrace that purpose. And find out just how great you can truly become. The other reason why it's really important to be intentional in identifying and connecting with your purpose is because there are other forces who are already trying to do the same thing. There are other forces who are constantly after your attention, after your mind, after your focus, and after your purpose. There are people whose purpose is to make you comfortable and lazy and complacent and want to eat bad food and want to not be active. Well, if you aren't intentional in identifying your own purpose, somebody else will do it for you. There's someone whose job it is who literally gets paid to make sure that they are influencing and changing and impacting the decisions that you make. So what will you do about it? Whether or not you decide to take action, whether or not you decide to identify your purpose, somebody is coming forward. So what will you do about it? Will you be passive? Will you allow others to influence and shape your life, your future, and your journey? Or will you be super intentional? Will you be hyper-focused? And will you be driven by the thing that you have chosen and not the world or the masses or everyone else who wants to have a say? Because how many people actually have your best interest at heart? Certainly your family and loved ones might, but what about the advertisers? How many people on social media have your best interest at heart? How many advertisers have your best interest at heart? How many businesses and companies have your best interest at heart? Or is it far more likely that all of these companies, all of these people, all of these entities have their own interests at heart first and foremost? And if they help you, great. If they solve a problem for you, good. But the bottom line is often the bottom line. Money, if you follow the dollars, that's what most people are thinking, and that's what most people are trying to do. So if most people are after money or trying to influence money or trying to get you to make an economic decision, maybe they don't have your best interest at heart. When you think about all of the people who want to influence and change and interfere with and impact the things that you do, before they can impact the things you do, they first got to impact the reason why. And so if people can impact and change the things you do for the negative, you can hack your biology, you can hack your mind. If other people can do it, if other people can change and influence and impact and hinder and alter your growth, your movements, your actions, you can too. And the first step to doing that is identifying and connecting with your why. It's not important enough just to identify what it is. If you don't connect with it, the fuel won't actually work. It's not enough to just identify it. You got to also connect with what your purpose is. 4 years of college is a lot of time for a person who doesn't really care about education and has no interest in the field that they're doing. 10 years of marriage is a really hard thing to do if you aren't actually purposefully driven and focused on the relationship and the person in which you love. Being a parent, raising children is a really hard thing to do if you're doing it for any reason other than the sole benefit of that kid. For wanting to see them be better, for wanting to see them do better, for wanting to give them the best opportunities you can. So again, I'll ask, what exactly is fueling you, and how intentional have you been with identifying with it and connecting with it? What happens to a normal car when you try to add diesel to it? What happens to a truck that takes diesel but you try to put gasoline in? The nozzle literally won't even go inside the car. That's how wrong it is. And so your why and your purpose and your motivation works the same way. If you are a person who knows you're good and knows you has a good heart and knows you're full of light, you can't fuel yourself with negativity. It won't work. Instead, you should be trying to use the good and the positive and the best things in life to get you moving. And so the first step is to find the sources of love and light that are important to you, that make you want to move, that get you excited, that might even bring a little bit of fear to your mind, but in a good way. And it doesn't matter whether this is something that'll bring you the light and positivity now or in the future. As long as you can identify it and it's a powerful force, you can use it to fuel your fire. The things that you hold dear, the things that you find important, those will be the things that get you from point A to point Z. But before you can get to point Z, you got to get to point B and C and D and E and F. It's progress over perfection. But sometimes the day-to-day of everyday life is a lot. And so when you have that purpose, it'll make it so that even on the down days, even when you're sick, even when you're hurting, you can keep going. Maybe you can't give it everything like you would like to, but at least you can give it something. At least you got a little something to give as opposed to nothing. If you're driven by nothing or you can't identify what you're driven towards, what are the chances that you're going in a purposeful and positive direction? I would argue probably very little. You also got to reflect and be honest with yourself. Again, if there's negativity fueling, you got to know about it. If there's positivity fueling you, you should be intentional and you should know about it. But the number one thing that holds people back is people. The number one person who all people lie to is themselves. And so if you're lying to yourself about what your purpose or your why is, how can you truly reach the destination that you're hoping for if you don't even know why you're going there? Chances are, if you don't know why you're going there, you also probably don't even know where you're going, because you're being fueled by the wrong things. This whole process that I'm describing, it might not be easy. It might not be comfortable. It might not be something that comes to you with little effort or with no pain. When we talk about reflecting and looking back and going deep into the person and psyche behind who you truly are, it involves looking at the past. It involves studying the present. It involves analyzing your future. It involves being honest with yourself. It involves being direct. It involves facing the difficult truth that you might have been avoiding for years and years and years. But at a certain point, you got to look yourself in the mirror and ask, why am I doing it? What is the thing that's getting me going? Because if you don't know what it is, or if it's the wrong thing, you're going to end up in the wrong destination. True freedom, true liberation comes when you can embrace and understand what your why is. Think about it. If you're driven by something you didn't decide, how free can you truly be? How liberated can you really be if the purpose that literally has you waking up every single morning isn't even something you decided on? It's almost robotic. You should not only know but identify and connect with the thing that drives you when you get to those dog days in the winter or those hot days in the summer or the times where you don't want to carry on. The why, the purpose, the motivation is going to be the fuel that gets you through the tough times. But what if you didn't pick the fuel that's going inside of your engine? What if you didn't decide on the gasoline that's literally skyrocketing you to the top? Well, you probably won't skyrocket to the top. You might just flutter and flop and never go farther than the basics. It's so important that you identify what your why and purpose is. There's a reason why when it comes to athletics and business and so many endeavors of life, people who have some sort of religious foundation are far more likely to find success. It's because you have a purpose, you believe in something. When we don't have a purpose, we're essentially lost. we're directionless, we're aimless, and we tend not to accomplish the things that we truly want to because we don't even know what's driving us and what's fueling us. And so when we talk about our why and when we talk about our purpose, it allows us to tap into something that's far greater than even confidence. And that something is called faith. When you're able to believe in something that you can't see, that might not be logical, that everybody else doesn't believe in, and you're able to go forward fearless, fueled by something greater, and you're able to achieve it, that's different. Faith is a fuel that's beyond any other, but you can't get the faith if you don't have the why. If you don't know what it is you believe in, how can you believe in it? Faith is stronger than just pure logic and what's purely scientific. And that's the reason why so many people of faith are able to exceed heights that normal people aren't. It's because they have a belief and they have a fuel that's far beyond what a regular person can do. Faith and the fuel that it provides you is extraordinary. And so if you want extraordinary results, you got to have an extraordinary X factor that'll get you there. If you want outstanding results, you got to have something outstanding that's pushing you and fueling you to something better. And that thing that's outstanding, that thing that's awesome, that thing that's taking you to the next place, the thing that's bringing you to faith isn't even tangible. But you know it's real. You feel it in your heart. You know it in your mind. And it's driving you and it's fueling you. And it will continue to push you the more you allow it to. Faith is the result of understanding and connecting to your why. But what is your why? And what is your purpose? And what research have you done? And how much have you reflected inwardly in order to know and understand your truest self? When you can connect to your why and your purpose, something special happens. When you connect to your why and your purpose, discipline happens. Greatness happens. Amazing magic happens. Love happens. Consistency happens. Goals happen. Records happen. New heights happen. And I won't sit here and lie to you and pretend to you like hurt and pain and heartache and heartbreak don't also happen once you discover your why. Because oftentimes once you do figure out what your why is, what your purpose is, it calls for you to leave some things in the past that you never would have even imagined. But the growth and the greatness and the better is on the other side of you finding and identifying with and connecting with your purpose. And when I say connecting, I don't mean just thinking about it. I mean taking the actions towards it. Yeah, you're not just thinking about what you do. You're not just imagining. These aren't just ideas. You are driven and you must take action because that's how strong and powerful your why is. At the end of the day, figuring out your why is one of the most important factors when it comes to success. And when I say success, I don't just mean financial. I don't just mean physical. I don't mean just mental. I mean spiritual. I mean in every way you can think of, being connected to and working towards your why is everything. It's the whole purpose of life. It's literally the reason why we're here. But have you taken the time to identify and be honest with yourself about what that why and purpose could be? Are you driven by something that's beyond the material, beyond money, beyond physical looks and acclaim? They're simply byproducts of understanding and connecting to your why. Because while those things aren't necessarily bad alone, you want to be driven by something greater. When you understand your why, you'll be driven enough and you'll create the wealth. When you understand your why and your purpose, creating change and having an impact is nothing. But you got to identify and you got to figure out and you got to connect with what your why is. Otherwise, you'll be left in the dust. When it comes to love, whether we're talking about your kids or romantic or whatever, if you don't have the why on why you're doing it and what's driving you, you could fall by the wayside. You might take it for granted. You might miss out on the most special and amazing things in life because you don't realize what your purpose is. How many people miss the most important moments in their kids' lives because they had their priorities all out of whack? How many people create and embrace memories and moments that are awesome and impactful and that you will never ever forget? They're driven by a why. They're driven by a purpose. That purpose might be love. By the way, love is one of the best whys ever. Your why is the determining factor of how you live your life and what your lifestyle looks like. Do you go to the gym? Do you exercise? Are you taking care of your mental health? Are you always on social media? Do you waste too much time playing video games? Would it be nice if you did play a few video games and relaxed a bit? What is your why? What's driving you? And what is keeping you going? What's driving you? What's motivating you? What's moving you? What even scares you? And if you haven't taken the time to be really diligent and really consistent and really focused and really purposeful, the question is why? And so if you haven't taken the time to be honest and reflect and do the deep dive and do the hard work to figure out not only what's driving you, but why. Because once you know why, then you also know how much you'll give to get it. And if you won't give enough to get the things you want, your why isn't good enough. Your why isn't important enough. Your why should be something that brings passion and fire to you. So whether it's a cold day in the winter or a hot day in the summer, you still got the fuel. Have you been intentional about connecting to your true purpose? Because if you haven't been intentional about connecting with your true purpose, somebody else will. Somebody for sure is trying to influence you as we speak. Somebody's trying to get into your phone, into your mind, into your kids' mind, into your family's mind. And so if you don't know your why and your purpose, birds of a feather flock together. How can you teach others? The fact that you know this now means that you can spread like a wildfire, not only with your why, but helping others understand their why and their purpose. And if for some reason you haven't done that, or you don't want to do the work, I guarantee there's a reason why. So ask yourself, why? This is the Infinite Evolution. I hope this information helped. I hope something I gave you today brought you some value. If so, let me know about it. Have a good one. Peace.